In this video, we're going to go over the application of the Aztec Masking Kit from Mass Design for the 1 to 1000 scale enterprise. We will also be applying the paint scheme that we came up with. We've already prepped the model with a coat of adhesion promoter, and we just use any kind of adhesion promoter that works good with plastic. And we gave it a coat of that, let it sit up for about a half an hour, and then we came back and we gave it a gray primer. We used the Rust-Oleum for this application. This masking kit has a 3-color paint scheme using a metal finish along with a satin and a matte finish to closely resemble the series model. You can choose whatever color you wish, but we'll show you what we came up with. Okay, so for the first step we have to do on this model, now that we've got it all primed, is we have to introduce all these dark gray colors. And we'll just paint that on the model, not using any masking, just airbrush on top of that. We'll come right back and I'll show you how we cover that up with the masking we have. Okay, so let's go over the painting that we've used. We've gone with this one. It's a Craft Smart Stormy Gray, and what we've done is that just mixed up with a little bit of thinner, and what we've done is we painted our outside line, this line in here, the back pieces, and the bridge. Like I said, it's pretty hard to see the difference on this gray. This one actually works the best for us, depending on which gray you use, or whether you might even use a white primer on your model. This way at least you've got your gray base down. So what we've done is we've got all of these rings now painted, and we'll apply the masking over top of that to protect it while we paint the silver parts. Okay, so now what we got to do is we have to mask over all these areas that we painted the dark gray color, just so we can put on our silver base. So what we'll do is we'll pull these up, and I'm going to just show you quickly how to do these. I mean, the blue ones here, you don't need to do the pre-mask or the clear on top of them. And hopefully I don't get my head in the way, but these are cut out so you can just kind of we want to cover this part in here, and there's also there's a little line that goes around here. We're going to leave that silver, so what we're doing is we're just masking to the inside of that. You just line it up at the back and then follow all the way up to the center. And as long as you don't push the mask down too much, you can reposition, get this exactly where you want it. Now what this mask is going to do is this, you don't really have to rub it down that hard. This is just going to protect that area, so when we paint our next color, those will stay dark gray. Again, just at the back, and I'll line it on one side and see how it goes. You want to get them kind of in place the best you can, because they are cut exact, because this part of the bridge on the back here is going to be silver, and we want this to be a nice crisp dark line right in there. So that looks like that's covered. Now depending on how you put these in here, if you can look at this one, there's a small little gap in there. So what you can do is you can take a piece of the mask. Like I said, these are just to cover it up, so we can get it as close to that, whatever that fin is that's on the back, so that fin will stay silver. I said this doesn't have any of the Aztecing on it. This is just a mask that's going to protect the gray. So on this sheet I'm going to have the pieces in here. Let's do the outer one first. Now these, like I said, you don't need to worry about having the clear mask on it. These are pretty rigid, pretty easy to install. And all you want to do is there's a grid line right here from the outer ring, and then where it starts in the Aztec. You just want to get this in as close to that grid line as possible. And then as long as you're not tacking it down, you can move it around. Just going to move this out of the way so you can see what we're doing. You kind of get the idea. Like I said, all we're doing is just protecting the gray underneath. Done. Okay, so that's the outer ring. Now let's go back. Let's bring this in. We can see what we're doing. So we've got these now covered. We've got this one covered. We have to do this one. So what this one is there's a grid line that sits right here. We're just proud of that grid line, so we'll grab the next ring start this right in here. Now the blue mask is, like I said, it's fairly rigid. You don't have to pull it. We won't pull out of shape too much because it kind of it's already set up to follow that circle. You just kind of have to guide it in place and get it as tight or as close as you can. All right, so that's that one done. Now the inner ring. Again, we start right close to the edge. This one kind of falls right in between two grid lines, so this one you have to be a little bit more precise with, but it does fit. All right, that's all our rings done. Now we just have a little area here behind the bridge. There's 4 little sections. Sorry if I'm getting my head in the way here. And they fit pretty exact. All right, so that's the rings, the back of the bridge. Now there's these just 2 stripes on either side. That's these guys right here. We're going to do them the same color. And on the model, they're about the spacing here is probably the same spacing that stripe is. So what we'll do is we'll just kind of eyeball that. Okay, that's one side. Okay, so now that all that's done, you can just press that down. You don't have to be too hard with it, just so it seats around wherever those phaser banks are, and you don't want no bleeding through there, but if you do, you can always touch it up. All right, one last thing we have to do is these 2 little pieces back in here have to be masked off, and they're right in here. Again, these fit pretty precise, so just get them laid down. Okay, that's everything we've got. We've also got masks for these little pieces in here. If you want to paint them ahead of time, we have the little square masks that'll cover those up for you. But I think that's pretty much everything we need. We can now move on to the base coat. Okay, so now for the base coat, we're going to use two colors. We're going to use the Vallejo Surface Primer Black and the Vallejo Air Metallic Aluminum. The reason we're using the aluminum is we've tried some other brands, some silvers and some other sterling silvers and stuff, and we found the pigment just a little bit too flaky. For this ship is such a small ship, it just can't deal with that. So this is a lot finer of a pigment that's in here. So we're going to do equal parts of aluminum and the black surface, and we're just going to paint all this up, and we'll be right back. Okay, we finished painting our silver on here, our silver and our black. This is going to kind of give us our metal finish on here. One thing I forgot to tell you on the brown, or the dark gray we used this Craft Smart. Stormy Gray was the selection we picked, and it was just one part of this to one part thin or whatever. That seemed to be a really nice color of gray that we needed. And honestly, I've seen on a few videos where some people are starting to use these folk art things, the Craft Smart, some other one of these acrylics. I mean, for $1.29, and these don't pull up off the model as bad as Model Master and the other stuff does. So we're gonna start using this stuff. It was a lot easier to mix. So we've got all that done. We painted the silver on. I guess I should tell you one thing. Once we painted this gray on here, we just gave it a little bit of a hairdryer just to dry it off, and then applied the mask right on. So we weren't even 5 minutes. We weren't waiting overnight or anything like that. The silver paint could be a little different. I would probably leave this for an hour or two before you start continuing on with the masking, but we'll do that and we'll make it short for you here. So what we're going to do is just pull this up, and you can see everywhere we had the mask now, we're going to have our dark gray. And like we say with all our kits, if you use a hairdryer on the mask, they will come off a lot cleaner, but you can see that this comes off of this gray really clean. We don't have no paint left or nothing. Okay, well this is where we'll let this dry for about an hour, and I'll start putting the main masking on, and we'll continue on with the video as soon as that's all finished. Okay, well we've given our silver about an hour to dry, so we're good to go and move on to our first pattern that we'll be laying down. You're going to get 4 of these sheets. I don't need to go through all the weeding because it's the same as it is on all the other kits, but what you need to do is just remove all the outside. And what I usually just do is put cuts across here and try and remove it off in pieces rather than trying to remove everything as one, because it gets a little difficult. But what you want to do here is you just want to pull off all the little parts that are on each one of these. And they come off fairly easy. You just give them a little wiggle every now and then, and that'll snap them off. So I think you kind of get the idea here, and we'll just we'll come right back when I've got all these weeded. Okay, so we have like 12 of these all weeded out. What we're going to do is we're going to start placing them down. It doesn't really matter where you start. Just want to put your clear on top of there, and just turn it over and roll it off. Now these ones start right at the bottom, so not on the gray but just above it, and you're going to have to trim it around all of this area here because each one of these pies would be different the way the bridge is, so it's just easier to have you trace it than actually make one that's the exact right one. So let's just get this, just following this grid line up here, and then just rub it down with your finger. 45 degrees usually works pretty good. Now if you want, just get a razor blade, and I'm just going to just trim lightly right along. Not pressing very hard. Vinyl is not that strong. You really don't need to press a lot. And then if you want, you can take your fingernail or something, and that'll kind of give you where the guide is, or where the grid is. And then peel off the stuff we don't need. That didn't cut. Get rid of the stuff we don't need, and we'll get one more on, and then I'll get the rest on and get right back. So let's get one more on just to show you what we're doing. Okay, I will get the rest of these on and we'll get right back at it. Okay, I just wanted to go over the last piece with you. I found out something. So one of the things here is you're going to get enough of this clear transfer tape to do the whole model. I've used this one piece just to do this whole top section. It still has lots of tack to it, enough tack to pull this off, but it also helps when you're releasing it because it doesn't have that much tack left. And I'm just going to show you one thing I realized is the ship itself has kind of the outer ring is smooth and the rest of the ship has kind of a pebbly texture to it. And like I said, that's trying to like putting a mask on a comb. It only touches on a few places. So what would work well is just putting this one on and then using your scraper or your card that you get with it, and that'll rub it into those places for you. And then when you're lifting your clear, it's not going to stick as much. So just like that. Okay, I'll finish that up and we'll get right back, and we're going to be doing some masking on the back side here shortly. Okay, I've already weeded the masks for the aft area. I put the clear on this side, and I need to cut this little section out here because this is where those fins go. So I just cut through the clear on this. And just pull the clear off. Get rid of that. Now we can pull this guy off. Okay, and I want to start right on this corner, follow this line down, and then through this side. So follow her down, and then rub it into all the creases. This one's going to take a little bit of work to get to lay down properly, but once you get the clear off, the black will lay down a lot better. But this is just to kind of get you get it seated so we can remove this. Okay, now you can go through here and get all this stuff in. I just want to make sure I got all the little crevices rubbed down so we don't get no bleed through, but it's not that critical. It's only the first pattern. Okay, well, I'll get the second one on and we'll get right back. Alright, that's all down, pressed in all the edges. The final piece for the first pattern is these two outer rings. They got to go around top of the gray. So I've already put the clear on that. I've also trimmed along the inside line so I can see where I'm going. I'm just going to trim this off a bit here. And just start right here. These will be a little bit longer on the overlap, so just line up the inside one. Install the second one. Alright, that's all the Aztecing you have to put on this thing for your first pattern. The only other thing I'm going to do is we haven't finished the masking for this bridge yet, so I just mask over this so we don't spray any of the next color on. And for our first color, we're going to be using this brand, the Pale Gray 6463 from Folk Art. This one we're just using straight out, a little bit of thinner on here, and that's what we're going to do. And I don't want a real heavy coat, I just want kind of a coat that's different between the silver and this. And what you can do is you'll see the dark grays will disappear a little bit, but not too much. Just spray a little bit of this on there, and then maybe at one end just pick it up. And like if you sprayed in this area, just pick this mask up and take a look at it and see if there's a difference between the silver and the gray. Then that's all you need. And we'll get that shot up, and then we'll start taking the masking off. Alright, well, we finished spraying on our first pattern color. And this just kind of gives you an idea of how light of a pattern it actually is. You can still see the gray through here. You can see the definition between the silver and the pale, because the pale is a flat color. So like I said, what we want to do is we want to just pull off a corner. And you can see that we have enough in there, so we can start pulling off all the mask on this one. And like this doesn't take too long. You just start finding a corner and start lifting it up. And this is only like a couple of minutes after I've painted the light gray, so you can see it's coming off fairly well. It's not affecting the silver or anything. I'll go ahead and clean up the rest of this and show you what it looks like when it's all unmasked. Alright, well, we've removed all of the masks for the first pattern. You can just see how it's starting to shimmer now, and kind of a change color. The same thing the refit's got, only in grays though. So that's our first pattern. Second pattern is going to even be harder to do. So on the first pattern, one whole section you just weed, and then the next section you just do a positive negative. The problem is when you get to the very top here, when these little pieces are here, sometimes this gets really difficult to remove. So if you want, you can put these on here and then weed them off. It's just as easy, or you can do it this way. Either way works for you. I kind of like to leave this top piece on there and I'll weed it when it gets on there. So what I'll do is I'll just grab some clear, and we'll start off with one section here. And then just start this, whatever one you want, wherever. It's not really anything set in stone. This is a separate pattern altogether. And this one goes right to the edge, not to the first grid line. It goes all the way to the edge. So just follow the grid lines. The squeegee, or the whatever we call these things. And then you should be able to remove all this. If it doesn't stick, just put it back down. Like I said, with the texture on the hull, sometimes they just have a little bit of an issue to stick, but they will stick for you. So here's what I was talking about here is don't bother getting too messed up with trying to get all these all cut out, because once you get on there, you have to trim them anyway. So once they're on, you just run a razor blade through there. And cut those off. Okay, so that's the one pattern. Then the next one next beside that one is actually where we start to have the positive negative happening. And if you want, like I said, there's lots of this clear to use. So if you'd like to cut really close to this, that's fine too. Don't worry, you get lots of clear with the kit. And then this one, it's kind of like a positive negative, so you can kind of see where you need to start. You can kind of see where the pattern kind of continues on, so it's pretty easy to line up. So you can use your nail to kind of get it seated in that corner. And then with a sharp razor knife, just cut away the sections you don't need. And you can remove sections of a mask. And there you go. I'll finish getting the rest of the masking on here and we'll get right back to this. Okay, well, we've got our second pattern on here now, our second Aztecing. I'm just going to have to finish off the aft areas here, and then we're going to give it another coat of paint. What we're going to use for the paint on the second coat is the storm gray or stormy gray and the pale gray. I'm going to have 2 parts of the stormy gray, 1 part of the pale gray. Same thing, just spray it on top, maybe pull it up just a bit to make sure that you have differential between the gray, the silver, and the new gray that we're going to be painting, and then when you're done we can pull all that masking off. Okay, just like before when we were doing the other mask over the dark gray, we're going to make this, cut out this little slot so this little fin can sit through. Again, we're going to start at the very corner here and work our way down to the back and then smooth it in. And I'll do the other side, then I'll cover all the bridge up, and we'll give it a coat of paint. Alright, well, our second pattern painting has been completed. Now we're going to just do all the fun part here, and that's remove all the masking and see how it looks. So I won't bore you with the rest of it, but you can kind of see what we're getting there. How we're getting a couple tones of gray. We're still seeing the dark gray below. We're getting the silver through. The other thing with this model is we're not going to be able to clear coat this or put a matte finish on it or any kind of finish, because anything you put on here will destroy that sheen that's on here. So I'll get all the masks off and we'll have a look and see how we did. Okay, well, we removed all our masks, and we'll show you what the final product's going to look like. This is the decal kit that you can get with it, and this is what we are going to bring out. So I don't know if the camera shows all that, but it's going to be. I think it turned out really good. I like it. I can hardly wait to get the rest of the model finished. Like I was saying, there's no way that you want to put any finish on this because you're just going to wreck the sheen. So as far as decals go, on the front you have the NCC. I guess you can't use the decal because that'll create a clear area around the decal. So what we're doing is we're going to cut out the registration for you. You'll get that with the kit. The S's, the R's, the P's, those you're going to have to weed once you put this down on the model because they're just too small and you'll lose the little pieces. So let's just get that piece installed and I'll show you what we're going to do. Okay, so just like every other mask, we're going to place this on. The kit will have centering lines and everything for you. This one we're just going to kind of freehand. I kind of know whereabouts it's going. And this is the same way we did all of the little fine masking along this edge. I just left it on, stuck it down, and then went back and removed it after. It's just a lot easier than trying to pull these itty bitty pieces off. So see if we can get all this off. Alright, I'm going to give this a quick shot of flat black and I will be right back. Okay, moment of truth. We gave the registration a little bit of black spray paint. Just put on light coats. Don't put on a heavy coat because it is a mask and you don't want it to bleed underneath. So 4 or 5 little light coats is probably all you need. Let's see how it turned out here. Okay, that'll pretty much do it for our masking kit for the new 1 to 1000 scale Discovery Enterprise. Make sure you chime in on our Facebook page at Aztec Masking Kit by Mass Design. There's we have people on there now from all over the world building models, and you can kind of get some ideas of what they're doing, ask some questions, and that'll be it for this video. We'll continue on more videos once we get the rest of the masking done and work on the engineering hull and the nacelles. Thanks for watching.